To your point, I know Patty had gone to a presentation on board docs, and so obviously this was years ago. Brought it to the board. Board really didn't go anywhere with it. Getting to get our Friday, our weekly Friday packets electronically was a big thing back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question I have, for the board would be, and there may be a direct tie-in to these board packets being available to the public as well. It could be one entity, because if we're making the board packets available electronically on the web, and you're talking about us receiving board packets electronically, there may be a connection there.
Yeah, there's different logins for different people. Different people could click, like some is accessible to the general public, and some is only accessible to board members, and then some is only accessible to certain board members. Like for instance, maybe agenda creating thing would be only for you because you are the only one that does that.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw something in here that was from board docs, one of the documents we had.
The question would then be for the board, would there be an interest in pursuing this?
Can we investigate the cost? Right?
Would you want to know the cost first before you determined what the features were and looked at the benefits in that way, or would you look at it all together?
Yeah.
All together, I would think.
All together.
Okay.
Yeah, this is, I don't know what page it is, but District 181, it says right up here, Board Docs Pro, so this is something that they probably have at their website, and they utilize that.
Okay. So, I mean, I have just, while you were talking, I've been flipping through the conference, and I'm not
yeah, there is one in there.
There's
there may be even two.
Board packets fast and easy with the iPad, and I'm not.
There's actually two in there that have seminars on them. There were two. One was a school district that uses it, and the other one was more like the company that was going to demonstrate it.
But even yet, I feel like if one of us went to it, we'd probably come back to the board and say, oh yeah, I saw it, it's really nice, but unless the full board had a chance to truly see and experience it, I don't know how the board would necessarily feel about that.
Well, maybe when we do the audit presentation, you could get these two companies to come out and do it. It's up to you, but I'm just thinking that's something you could do.
Worthwhile. Mark, do you? Erica,
they
sorry.
do webinars. I've sat through through webinars on both of them. One is way better than the other one, and I don't think it's 181. Even they do their policies, it's not as nice. And the cost, when Patty had the initial and we discussed it, some of the items that came up, the questions were it was pretty costly. Then it comes to board members having to have a district computer. Is the district going to purchase a computer for you to use for it? What are we going to do during the board meeting? So will everyone have their own laptop during the board meeting that the district would provide? So those were some of the questions that came up, because what the board had decided at that time, if we're still going to print a copy for you to have while you're in the meeting, then why are we using the program and spending all that money? Mm-hmm. And if we're going to run the PDF and still have it online, then that kind of takes care of the public view of it. Mm-hmm. So that was sort of, at that time we didn't have the PDF scanning stuff. But those were some of the questions that came up and were brought up when we discussed it a few years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say a few years ago. Just because it evolved so quickly, and then it may be different now. I don't know. You know what I mean? Because technology is
some of our districts do use them, but they provide a laptop that they use during the meeting, and so all those costs, we kind of at that time. I think that's when we moved to the Electric Friday packing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I think we could, there are webinars you can sign up for and stuff.
So then where would we want to go with this one? If it's something we're going to want to pursue, how?
Maybe start with a presentation and seeing if it would be something that would benefit us. If it's going to cost us a lot of money in the long run, I mean, maybe we wouldn't want to do it.
All right. Erica, you've got some... Perhaps I can talk to you then after the fact, and we'll see who the companies are that you're at least familiar with, and see what we can.
Yeah, I can find out from our feeder districts how it's done and stuff like that.
Okay, that'd be great. A good place to begin.
And I've got contact information.
Okay. Why don't we start with that and see what we can find out and bring back to the board? All right.
So I do have one, so to the government transparency point, one thing I thought of, I forgot to mention this, in going through the board packet, there was something in the District 181, and that was part of this enters into policy, but I thought was a great idea was on the second page here. It says, board members may use only their district-provided email account addresses to communicate by email with other board members, staff, media, community members, and others regarding business of the district, incoming emails, da-da-da-da. Personal email accounts of board members may not be used to conduct board business, and board members pay a reasonable expectation of privacy in communications through their personal accounts. That was a terrific idea.
Well, email is something that came up at the last meeting and was kind of tabled, not because we weren't going to talk about it, but we wanted to postpone it. Mark, I believe you're the one who had mentioned, since we were going to be talking about communication.
Oh, right,
we'd be talking about email. So with that being said, where am I with things? All of the information that Mark was able to garner from some of the associate districts, not all of it, but some of that information was there. So before we move on to talking specifically about email, and I do want to come back to that, specific to this board goal though is the last bullet item, which was communicating the district goals to the community. And this is where, Kieran, you had a publication, I thought, from 106, was it?
Are we off of bullet point 3?
I thought we were. Well, I thought we were done, but if not, please.
Well, I thought we were still on it.
Well, that was why I brought it up. We plan to talk about
government transparency.
As part of another.
No, I had said not limited to, and I had said that I had something, I didn't know if it went with the third bullet point or actually the second.
Okay.
So I actually would like to have one more thing in here.
Then you know what, then I probably just jumped the gun. So
Okay, I thought that we were still on
That's fine.
government transparency.
That's
and
fine.
email,
Let's go.
so.
Okay, and that's why you brought up the
That's why I
email.
brought it up.
Okay,
Right.
then let's continue with that. I apologize.
Well, if we're going
So-
to discuss it.
No, we'll do
separately.
it now. It's fine. And yours is what?
Mine is not
Your,
email.
what was the other thing you wanted to address in this?
Communication during a board meeting.
Okay, communication during board meeting. All right. Why don't we start with the email then? During BOE meeting. And email. Rick, your thoughts from what you read?
Well, I just thought it was a very good idea, right? I mean, that we have, I mean, I don't think there was any technical reason that we couldn't have board emails, right?
Separate email accounts for
right.
each board
I mean,
member,
we have-
maintain it at the, on the district server.
Right, I mean, just from the standpoint of full transparency of all communications, being able to bifurcate, you know, my personal email from everything else, I just think there are a lot of benefits, both from a personal standpoint and from a transparency standpoint, right? From a full, you know, full availability and disclosure of everything that every one of the board members conducts through email.
I like that idea because the district emails always get mixed up with all my other ones. And I have hundreds of them, and I really can never find what I'm looking for. So if it was all in a central address, it would be a lot easier, I think.
Okay. So what's everybody else's sense in this one?
I have that highlighted.
Mark, would you look into what it would take, not only for
Oh,
the
it's
board?
not much.
Yeah, but we'll have to be able to access it. I don't know, what does the district use? Do you guys use Outlook?
You can do it
Use Outlook, so then we
Yeah.
should be able to.
You just
No,
have to
it's-
set you up to log in.
Because we do
Okay.
this with LATSI employees and,
Okay.
you know.
Well, wait a minute, time out.
What?
You wouldn't be utilizing Outlook at that point. At that point, you'd be coming in via the internet like you go out to your Google email. You're not using Outlook at that point.
Well, it's a mail exchange.
Exactly. So if all you're doing is getting a separate external email and then forwarding it to an existing one on let's say your current home, you're not.
No, you could have a Mark Mirabli at d107.org and it would just, you'd have to go in there. And
I understand that, but Outlook resides on my home computer. I'm not accessing it.
Right, no, you go to the website.
Well, okay, that's what I'm saying. So we're accessing it. We're going into it via the internet. Right. That's what I was driving at. Correct. We're not just. It's not local Outlook on your machine because you do load Outlook on your machine. Right. You're
you can go
accessing
through
it
the
via
mail.
the
Right.
internet. Right.
So anyway, we'll